very much in his style, his very dramatic theatrical style. The organ is a 1974 Wix pipe organ that has been extensively revoiced and rebuilt by my company, and including a brand new 4-manual console that we built 2.5 years ago to replace the original Wix organ. So what you're hearing is less Wix and a majority of O'Neill pipe organ builders. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, for that lovely piece and the very informative video you prepared with it. We'll move right on to our next participant. We have Dr. Patricia Hannafin. Dr. Hannafin is music director and organist at Our Savior's Lutheran Church in Long Beach. She is also adjunct music instructor at Los Angeles City College and Los Angeles Valley College, and she's a staff accompanist and coach at Los Angeles Valley College. I also see that she's performing a piece by a composer who is well beloved to the Los Angeles chapter. Dr. Hannafin, can you tell us a little bit about the piece you're about to perform and the instrument you've performed it on?
Do I just start talking?
Yes, go ahead and start talking and your video will be highlighted momentarily.
So yeah, as you said, I am performing a piece by Emmylou Deemer, and I love her music, and I've played tons of her music for many years. And I have my one little volume here of With Praise and Love. And Emmylou Deemer lives in Santa Barbara, and she was born, where was she? In Kansas City, Missouri, I believe. And I believe that she is 92 at this point. She is an amazing woman and composer. She's composed for music in all areas, genres and type. This is an arrangement on the hymn tune Asman, Oh, for a Thousand Tongues to Sing. I love this piece for its brightness, and it makes me happy, and I want the people who are in the congregation listening to feel that they are all these thousand tongues singing, which we aren't doing at the moment. That is primarily what I was going to say about that. Oh, and do you need me to talk about the organ at this?
Sure, just give us a little information about the instrument.
Okay. So it's not the one that's behind me in the video. This is my Roland organ there in the back. But the one at the church is a three-manual. It is a Reuter organ with a Chantz console that we put in, what was it? It's over 10 years ago. I know Ty Woodward was very involved in that. And I love that Chantz console. It is just a beautiful instrument, really wonderful to play. And what is it about? I don't know, somewhere around 30, more than 30 ranks on that. So that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Dr. Hannafin. I particularly enjoyed the pictures of the pipework and the interior of the organ chambers.
I would
As
say
an organ builder, it's fun to see.
it is fun to see. Nick Vinden did the video for me, and he's doing great work at our church with getting the videos for the services. And always the inside of the organ is so fascinating. So it's fun to see that. Thank you, Kevin.
Yes, thank you again. Our next performer is not with us live today. We have Mr. Ray Irwin. He is Director of Music at St. Michael and All Angels Episcopal Church in Corona del Mar. And he is going to introduce his piece in his video. So when Nelson has the video queued up, we will hear from Ray Irwin.
Reinberger's Betrachtung, meaning meditation or contemplation, is part of his collection called Miscellany, Opus 174, published in 1893. Betrachtung is not technically difficult or showy, but it's a very nice little piece and musically interesting as well. I use it all the time for weddings, funerals, and quiet voluntaries.
And even though Dr. Irwin is not able to join us today, we are thankful to him for that lovely selection he's performed. Moving right along, our next participant is a well-known member of the Los Angeles chapter. He gives constantly to the chapter and the community with a lovely parlor music series in his own home. And I believe he's performing the piece at his home, if I'm correct, but I will pass you on to Dr. Stan Harris. Please tell us a little bit about the piece you're going to play and the instrument you're performing it on.
I've chosen a piece by Flor Peters. It's a 1-minute invention that I learned back in 1966 when I first started studying organ. The organ that I'm going to use is a little pipe organ that was built in 1984 by Bachman organ crafters in Cincinnati, Ohio, to augment a Baldwin electronic organ installed in the Northminster Presbyterian Church in North Canton, Ohio. The Baldwin died back about 10 years ago, and so they put the little pipe organ up for sale, and a friend shipped it out to me, and Manuel Rosales helped me install it, and he voiced it, and it's done a great job of disguising my electronic organ for the past decade. This is an opportunity where I'm going to play it all by itself.
And thank you, Stan. Please be sure to let LA chapter know when you get your music series restarted. And we look forward to being able to be with you again in the near future. Our next participant last performed for us at a master class with Stephen Tharp at Claremont United Church of Christ. So we're glad to have him back as part of this members recital. Justin Seneff is organist and choir director at St. Luke, the Evangelist Catholic Church in Temple City. So Justin, tell us a little bit about the piece you're going to play and the instrument you performed it on.
Sure, so I am performing the second of the 3 preludes on Welsh hymn tunes called Ros Midre, which means lovely in Welsh. The instrument I'm playing this on is the Rogers Trillium with hybrid. It is 6 ranks of pipes and the lovely digital sampling and the great MIDI that I use quite often in my sampling and which I use often in this piece. I chose this piece specifically since last Wednesday was the anniversary of the passing of Ray Vaughan Williams, 62 years. But more poignantly, tomorrow is the 23rd anniversary of the passing of the Princess of Wales, and this piece was played at her wedding in 1981 and her funeral in 1997. I dedicate this piece to my organ teacher at University Fullerton, Esther Jones, who just retired after 44 years. I get news of her successor tomorrow, so it's all very exciting. And I also dedicate this to a friend of mine, Marlette Reyes, who passed away 1 year ago this very afternoon. So But yes, it's a wonderful little piece. It is one of those staples of English organ repertoire. In fact, I brought my little English tea to have with it, next to my wine, of course. And I certainly hope you all enjoy it as I have. So there we go. Yeah, sure. In fact, it's off right now, so.
Thank you, Justin, for that lovely Vaughan Williams piece. It's one of my favorites. We'll move on to our next participant. He is currently organist choir master at Emmanuel Episcopal Church in St. Louis, but I believe there is some news that you are to be relocating to Palm Springs in the beginning of October. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Good. So I'd like to introduce everyone to Charles Peary. And Charles, tell us a little bit about the piece you're playing and especially about the instrument you're performing it on.
I guess I'm the sonic contrast. I'm playing a harp piece by Henriette Renier. She has a lot in common with the same organ composers in Paris at the turn of the century. And organists who listen to Renier are often, if they're doing it blindly, they'll say it's Vierne. And that's appropriate. She was aware, her works are not derivative, but she was a smart lady at a time when it was not acceptable for a woman to be A, talented, B, successful. And so the piece is a simple one. It's called Angelus. It's about the ringing of the church bell. And I'll leave you to look up the Dali, Salvador Dali objection to the Millet painting. He felt there was something massively wrong with it. The colors, the lighting. He said the artist is either deceiving himself or us. And if you look up the reason, Dali turned out to be correct. As technology improved in analyzing old artwork, he was exactly right. The painting had been changed. Anyway, this is Angelus.
Thank you very much, Charles. What a lovely piece. And as an art enthusiast and collector, I especially appreciated the art you shared along with it. So we look forward to meeting you after you move out to Southern California in a few weeks.
Thank you.
Our next participant is a well-known member of the Los Angeles chapter. Mr. Ty Woodward is organist at First United Methodist Church of San Diego. And as an accomplished theater organist, he's one of the staff organists at El Capitan Theater in downtown Hollywood. So Ty, why don't you tell us a little bit about the piece you're going to play and the instrument you're performing it on?
The piece is the Andante Sostenuto from the Widor's Symphonie Gothique, which was essentially his symphony number 9, next to the last symphony that he wrote. And the lyricism in this is absolutely incredible, between the melody in the harmonic flute to the counter melodies on the upper end of the pedal board. Really, really a fine composition, and hope you enjoy it. The organ, actually, I'm organist at First United Methodist of Santa Monica, 120 miles north of San Diego, but First Methodist in San Diego is a great space also. And the organ that was installed when the church was built in the 50s was 2 manuals of a 3-manual Cassavant. Virgil Fox dedicated it and pronounced it the worst organ he had ever played. Subsequently, things have gotten a whole lot better. There were additions made by both Moeller and Abbott and Seeker, a couple of ranks by Shawns, and cleaning up around the edges here and there. And majorly, the room was redone acoustically to be really quite a fine space for music. So here's Widor's Andante Sostenuto. Hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, Ty. What was that lovely solo flute you were using? One moment, you're currently muted.
The first one was the harmonic flute on the grate. The one at the very end was the 4-foot flute, which is an open wood flute in the swell.
Wow, they were impressive. Thank you very much for showing that off for us. Our next participant is another well-known member of our chapter, Mrs. Theodora Primes, or as we prefer to call you, Miss Theo, I believe, is organist at the United Armenian Congregational Church in North Hollywood. And Miss Theo, please tell us a little bit about the piece you're performing and the lovely instrument you're performing it on.
I'm going to play the introduction to Leo Bollmann's famous Suite Gothique, written in 1895. It was written for a 66 rank, 4-manual upgraded Cavalier Cole in a large Parisian church. I performed this during the pandemic at our Hollywood home, where we have a Hopwork sample set of the Manuel Rosales' magnificent 3-manual 58-stop Opus 11 in Portland, Oregon. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Theo. Our next performer is Mr. Mark Husey. He is organist at Holy Trinity Catholic Church in San Pedro. Mark, tell us a little bit about the piece you're going to play and the instrument you recorded it on.
Hi there. If you can retain the last chord of Miss Theo's piece, G major, this is a lovely little segue into C major from Bach. And I think Bach's fugue is very evocative of Palestrina's polyphony. Bach is apparently the heir of the mantle of Palestrina's great polyphonic writing. So I have Palestrina in my ear when I'm playing this on a really lovely little 3-manual Reuter that Dale Schweitzer added a new console to about 15 years ago or so. And you'll hear the acoustics of Holy Trinity lend themselves beautifully to this kind of polyphony.
Thank you, Mark, for performing that lovely Bach piece we do not get to hear often enough. Our next performer is the one and only Dr. Christoph Bull. Dr. Bull is organist in residence at the First Congregational Church of Los Angeles, and he is university organist and adjunct associate professor at UCLA. Dr. Bull, please tell us a little bit about the piece you're going to perform and the organ you recorded it on.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Kevin and Nelson, for doing this. This is such a great idea. I'm so pleased to see everybody. I'm pleased to see two of my former students, Dr. Stipp and Dr. Hannafin, and to see two of my former teachers, Professor Rhodes and Professor Thomas. Great to see you all. The full title of my piece is Well-Tempered Variations on a Bach Prelude in D minor. That just about says it all. I like to sometimes I like to treat classical or Baroque pieces as if they were a jazz tune in the real book. And I play it pretty close to the way it's written, and then I do a jazzy thing with it, and that's what's happening here. I recorded that for one of our online services at First Congregational Church. We do them every week, and every service starts with a half-hour prelude concert, and this piece was one of the pieces. First Congregational Church in Westlake, LA, was originally built by the E.M. Skinner Company, and then later expanded by the Schlicker Company. And then some other people still kept tinkering with it like they do in this country. And I'm very happy they did. It's so much fun, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Christoph, for that impressive piece.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
What a joy to take a tour of the various different styles. Let's see, our next performer is our very own district convener for the Southern California A.G.O district. Mr. Peter Bates is Minister of Music and resident organist at Covenant Presbyterian in Long Beach. So Peter, tell us a little bit about the piece you're playing and the organ you performed it on.
Okay. The piece is it's very interesting genesis. I was in New York for the first time in 1979, and my host was a publisher, and he asked me what I wanted to do for church on Sunday, and I said I wanted to go to Riverside to hear Fred play. So we went, and Fred was playing this setting of Amazing Grace as one of his preludes. We went up to the console, of course, afterwards, talked to him, and he showed the manuscript, and he said it's never been published. So Richard, the publisher, he handed him his card, and he says, tell Mr. Hebel that I would be happy to publish it. So that's how it got published in 1980. His setting of Amazing Grace begins sounding kind of reminiscent of bagpipes. And then in one of the variations, he includes the tune Foundation in the pedal. There's a variation where it's a kind of scherzo-like, and then that follows with a build to full organ, and then comes down quietly in a kind of jazz chord setting with a trumpet solo, and ends very, very softly. So the organ is the Aeolian Skinner 1966 instrument at Covenant Presbyterian Church in Long Beach, here where I've been for the past 23 years holding forth. So I hope you enjoy.
Thank you, Peter. What lovely Celeste you have on that instrument. That was such a beautiful, colorful piece. Our next performer is Mr. Lawrence Strom. He is proprietor of, is it Strom Organ Works?
Strom Organ Service, yeah.
Strom Organ Service, okay. Tell us a little bit about the piece you're going to play and the instrument you've performed it on.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Once again, this is great what you, Kevin, and Nelson are doing. This is, hopefully we won't have to do this very much longer. Hopefully we'll all be back together and performing live and in person. I had the, now I'm at a loss for words, the wonderful time of helping out Church Keyboard Center and Nelson Dodge work on an organ up in Lancaster. It's the Avenue K LDS Stake Center up in Lancaster, and they had a 1974 Wix that really didn't have anything on it that sounded good, or was it enough to lead a congregation in singing? It always really lacked strength and the ability to accompany. And we were asked to come in and devise a solution for them. And so what we did is took the original 11 rank organ, removed 1 rank, and mated it to a new Monarch custom console. And we just finished that up a few weeks ago. And as we were finally listening to it, I sat down and just played this hymn, and Nelson recorded it, the hymn we all know, All Creatures of Our God and King. And I just played 3 verses of it, kind of just showing what it could do in hymn accompaniment. And it needs to be able to accompany when the building is full, about 1,200 people. So we were real happy with the way it turned out. And if you guys want to sing along, you can go ahead. But there's 3 verses with a little French toccata style intro. And the last verse is a nice reharmonization that I found a long time ago that's up a half step. So there's a little transition before the last verse. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Thank you, Lawrence. I have a
Thank you.
particular attachment to that hymn. That was the first hymn my organ instructor asked me to learn from the hymnal.
Oh, the first time I played that for a large congregation was at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco back in 2000. I was lucky enough to be interim assistant organist for the fall of 2000. And I got that reharmonization and came up with that arrangement at that time. And it was just a dream to play it on that instrument. But while I was playing, I had a couple of people text me, "What happened to your hand?" The day before, we were finishing up tuning, and low C of the solitional in the swell is mitered so that the top of the pipe is pointing down. And I was trying to get the pipe sharper, and I was pushing up on the tuning collar, which is really sharp, and I got right in the web, the edge of the tuning collar, and sliced up my hand. And it's all gone now. There's just a little scar. I was surprised I was able to play, but it didn't get in the way. Anyway, my hand's good now, and I hope you guys all enjoyed that.
Yeah, no organ project is complete without an adequate organ bite.
That's right. Blood is spilled.
Thank you again. Our next performer is, I believe he has the title Reverend. Am I correct?
Yes, that's surprisingly true.
Right, the Reverend Gregory Norton. But Greg Norton is Minister of Music at First United Methodist Church of Pasadena. And you are also the A.G.O coordinator for professional development, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And please tell us about the Howells piece you're going to play and a little bit about the instrument you've recorded it on.
Hello, everybody. This is a part of a concert that we did in July as part of our church's concert series. It's the first of Howells' 6 psalm preludes. He wrote, as you probably know, 2 sets of these, 2 sets of 3. One set when he was in his 20s and one set later in life. He apparently was a rather serious 20-something man, because he gave an epitaph to this first psalm prelude. It's from the 34th psalm, and it's this verse: "This poor soul cried and was heard by the Lord and was saved from every trouble." So you'll hear sort of, if you don't know the piece, the melodies are sort of built on these 2-note descending kind of psi motifs that get built into larger melodies. And like most of Howells' psalm preludes, it starts at the threshold of silence and builds up to mostly full organ and then builds back down. So hopefully that'll all come across on the Zoom adequately. The E.M. Skinner organ was built with the church in 1924 and then was enlarged in the 50s by Aeolian Skinner, and was Opus 1. There was another enlargement in the 70s as Opus 1 of a man named Manuel Rosales, who you may have heard of. And he was the last to do a major renovation of the organ, although there's been a few other things done to it in the years. It's about 65 ranks now.
Thank you, Greg. It's not often we get to hear howls here in Los Angeles, so thank you very much for that. Our next performer is Dr. Neil Stipp. Dr. Stipp is college organist and artist in residence at Whittier College, and he's organist at Emmanuel First Lutheran Church in West Covina. So, Neil, please tell us a little bit about the piece you're going to play and the organ you recorded it on. Neil, I think you're muted, so look for that unmute button and start over.
Okay, there we go. My sonata for viola and organ has 4 movements. Festival prelude, soliloquy, short dialogue, and the intermezzo and rondo, which you're going to hear this evening. It was composed and premiered in 2017 at Pasadena Presbyterian on the Aeolian Skinner organ. Rebecca Lester is the violist. The sonata is in a neoclassical style. The final movement is in 2 parts, starting with a soothing intermezzo that contains the main theme of the rondo in a slow, unhurried fashion. The rondo is light and happy, with themes of the first movement returning interspersed between the main theme. The entire sonata can be heard on YouTube. And that's about all I have to say, and enjoy.
And thanks again, Dr. Stipp. What a lovely original composition.
Thank you so much.
Our next performer is Dr. Jeffrey Parola. Jeffrey is Master of Music at St. Thomas the Apostle Episcopal Church in Hollywood. Jeffrey, tell us a bit about the piece you're going to play and the instrument you performed it on.
So I'm playing the Prelude in E-flat major by Alexandre Guillemot, who is I'm sure most of us know, a 19th century composer who lived to 1911. And this piece is very noble, very beautiful, and I just freely registered it, as you will hear. So I hope you enjoy that. The instrument that I'm playing on at St. Thomas the Apostle in Hollywood was built by Weston Harris and Thomas McDonough between the years of 1988 and 1990, and it is currently being refurbished as we speak. And it was built to honor the many parishioners at the time who had died or had been affected by the HIV/AIDS virus, which many of our parishioners in those days unfortunately died from. And for those of you who've been to St. Thomas, it's this beautiful neo-Gothic church where we have interred in our walls many of the remains of our former parishioners, and several of which succumbed to the AIDS virus in the 80s and 90s. The instrument is, as I said, being refurbished, and we have about over 70 ranks right now. It's a 5-manual console. The 5th manual, actually recently installed, is a refurbished manual from the St. Patrick's Cathedral, New York City organ from years past. Apparently Pietro Jon played on that particular manual many years ago. So it's that old. And the instrument itself is kind of a piecemeal of many different instruments throughout the Los Angeles area. Specifically, the core itself is from the Los Angeles Art Organ Company, Opus 46 from 1904. So it's an interesting instrument. It's got a lot of color, a lot of life, a lot of vitality, and it's a pleasure to play it. So hope you enjoy this performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And provided we've reopened at the end of next season, we're looking forward to having a guild service at St. Thomas to conclude our next season.
Same here. Thank you.
Our next and last performer of our members' recital is going to take us out with a fete. Robert Hovenkamp is organist choir master at St. Edmund's Episcopal Church in San Marino. And Rob, would you tell us a little bit about the piece you're going to perform and the instrument you're playing it on?
I'm happy to, Kevin. I'm playing Aeolian Skinner Opus 1323, which was installed in 1958 and lovingly restored and enlarged in 2007 by Rosales, with more additions in 2011. I'm playing Fête or Celebration by Jean Langlais. It was composed in 1946, and as the title suggests, Celebration, Langlais was in an incredibly great state of mind at the time he composed this, which he did in 4 days, I might add. The World War II had just ended, and Paris was positively euphoric over that, and Langlais even said that when the Allies marched into Paris, it was one of the great moments of his life. And after that, he also landed his dream job of at Saint Clotilde, and he finally got to be Tournemir's successor. So he was in a great mood when he wrote this piece. The main thing about this piece to look for is the jazz rhythms, and that's the one thing that everybody comments about this is, where did the jazz rhythms come from in this piece? Well, there are theories about this, and I'll tell you. Langlais used to hang out in the cafes in post-war Parisian, in post-war Paris. And he heard a lot of jazz in the American bars, and he was very impressed by it. And this piece is not the last time he used jazz rhythms. So I hope you enjoyed it. Here's Fête, or Celebration, by Langlais.
Thank you, Rob, for taking us out with such a celebration.
Thank you. I hope we can do it again.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone for participating, both playing and serving as an audience for our first ever members recital via Zoom for the Los Angeles chapter A.G.O. I'd again like to thank our performers, Sean O'Neill, Dr. Patricia Hannafin, Dr. Ray Irwin, Stan Harris, Justin Sineff, Charles Peary, Ty Woodward, Mrs. Theo Primes, Mark Husey, Dr. Christoph Bull, Peter Bates, Lawrence Strom, Greg Norton, Dr. Neil Stipp, Dr. Jeffrey Parola, and again, Rob Hovenkamp. And I would also like to thank our technical director, as well as Dean of our chapter, Nelson Dodge, who has been running all of the videos and cueing all of the participants very silently behind the scenes as we have moved through this members recital. So thank you again, everyone. Please check your newsletters and the A.G.O social media outlets for details about our upcoming events, as local restrictions are constantly changing. So we hope to see you in October, whether it is live stream or in person. We will definitely be having an opening meeting. Thank you again for participating, and I look forward to seeing everyone again soon.
And Kevin, let me just add, thank you for emceeing this. And we've still got close to 60 people here. If you'd like to have a reception, we could